I remember she was really beautiful, and a lot of she had lots of attention. You know what I mean, from those around, from guys, but she was really kind of humble in a way, and a little bit shy, but really funny. But she was just really fun to be with. She was mature for her age, I think, and she's really pretty, really pretty girl. Yeah, and prettier than in her pictures. You know how some people are just better in person than they are in pictures, and I would say she was more beautiful, in person than she was in pictures. She was popular, but just had a few friends just because she was just so tight with her boyfriend too, Yeah. So she didn't. Sophomore year, it wasn't like we had started hanging out with a bunch of people yet. She just had a few friends, not in a big group of friends that I remember.
She's so sweet, and she's more shy. They always say that she was a cheerleader, and I was the cheerleader. I think that's my mom. She got that mixed up because they always read, she was a cheerleader in high school. But I was the one that was a cheerleader in junior high, so I think that my mom got that mixed up, because I remember I always read that on her, and I'm like, no, I don't think she was. I don't remember her doing that.
Well, Nancy and I were cousins, but we were also best friends.
Okay.
We are 2 years apart, and we hung out in the same circles and the same social groups. We went to the same high school.
Yeah.
Darling, darling, darling girl, and funny. Oh my gosh, she was a really funny girl. Connie has a very bubbly personality, and she was a lot like Connie. Very, very bubbly. I don't know what else you want to know about Nancy. She was just funny. Just funny. I mean, we went on a double date to see I can't remember the name of those theaters, the Regency up there, I think. And we were running through the parking lot really fast, and Nancy wasn't paying attention. And she ran into the side view mirror, and it knocked her cold out. I mean, anyway, we would just laugh and laugh and laugh. I mean, we just, shared everything, we did each other's hair, and we, traded clothes, and, she was my buddy. Lots of great memories, old memories, growing up and having sleepovers at Grandma's. And there were three of us. There was me, Heidi, and Nancy, and we were all the best of little buds, because we were all really close in age.
Hey, what's up? Captain Borax here. It's a chilly morning in Utah.
We're hanging out at the Higher Ground Coffee House in Holiday, Utah. And this is notable because in 1974, this was the Arctic Circle drive-in that Nancy Wilcox worked at.
Verified. Checked with Arctic Circle themselves, and they have verified that this is the original building. Nancy worked here with her friend Louisa Paulsen, who we've spoken with as well, and she's verified that this was the actual Arctic Circle.
Now this is a notable location because there's a theory that Ted Bundy actually came in here and may have been stalking Nancy and may have been acquainted with her. It's something that's not verified, but it's a theory that the family members have, and a couple people who worked here have also mentioned the same thing. So Nancy Wilcox and the Wilcox family lived about 9 blocks east of here, and so it was very close within the vicinity of their home, as well as Olympus High School, where Nancy was a sophomore.
There are so many misconceptions about Nancy Wilcox. If you do Google searches on Nancy Wilcox, you're going to find things like that she was a cheerleader. Guess what? She was not a cheerleader.
A common narrative that you hear, she was a cheerleader, that she partied.
Yeah, she was a big drinker, pot smoker. Completely untrue.
That's completely inaccurate.
No, never.
Okay.
Never. If anybody smoked pot, it was me, but I didn't smoke pot until I was way into college, but no. Oh, no way. If that ever happened, then I didn't know about it.
Not ever with me, nor I don't think with anyone else, because her boyfriend was not a partier either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was a football player.
That's right.
And yeah, he was, and he was not a partier, and so I don't know of any time that, you know, if that came out, that people might have been assuming that, but that was not the case.
She started working here roughly in August, according to her best friend Louisa Paulsen. They both got a job here at the same time. And apparently Louisa was fired, or they were both fired according to her, for being too social, which is pretty funny because I got a similar story.
I actually knew Nancy's mother, Connie Wilcox.
Connie Wilcox learned that Bundy had confessed killing her daughter Nancy 14 years ago.
Ted Bundy needs to die. He needed to die 10 years ago or longer, and he should not have been allowed to live this long.
So cool.
She was my 9th grade English teacher in 1982 at Bonneville Junior High School, and she was an amazing teacher. On the last week of class, she shared her story about how Ted Bundy abducted and murdered Nancy.
Dude, you're so lucky, man. I mean, like, not many people can say that. Like, Connie did not talk about that story. According to Susie and Jamie and Louisa, the family just didn't talk about it. After it happened, they just stayed busy. They kept their heads down and, you know, stayed pragmatic and carried on with life. But they absolutely did not talk about it.
Correct. And Connie was well known in the art community here locally in Holiday, Utah. She was an artist. She was featured in several art galleries, and that was something that she did as a hobby to keep her mind off things. There's a lot of theories that Ted may have known her from this exact location while she worked at Arctic Circle. And there's been a couple of accounts by family members who said that Nancy talked about an older guy who would come into the Arctic Circle drive-in and flirt with her.
Jamie, I met this guy. He's really cute. He's older. You know, he's going to law school. And I'm like, well, your parents will probably like that better than John. You know, and that's kind of was our talk about it. I mean, she told me about this guy. But, you know, I didn't even think anything about it. I mean, you know, like, well, yeah, you know, whatever, yeah. I'm sure he scouted her out. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Because she would have walked home from work because they would have made her work.
Right.
Because, you know, that's what you did, and, you know, teach a kid responsibility and make them work, and it was probably only, you know, like half mile to Arnett.
She was so excited. We were in the living room. We have this big window that faces out, you know, the front of our house, and she claimed she saw him drive by, and it was daylight. It was daytime. And she was so excited, like, and she'd tell my mom, oh my gosh, that's that guy that's been coming into my work, and, you know, like, there's been, I mean, you know, I guess he would be impressive. I mean, you know, law student and all that, you know, a younger girl, you know. My mom worked over at JCPenney. She'd work there at nighttime in the, like, the beauty department, the wigs. She did the wigs over there. Isn't that funny? Because everybody wore wigs. It was like back then. I know. She'd always style wigs and everything, but she worked over there, and she'd always get off work at 9 o'clock at night. And the way our house is set up is, because we're on that corner, but if you look out our TV room window, you can see the one street go straight out that way, and then if you go to my mom's bedroom window, you can look out the other street that goes towards Sprouse Ritz and 39th, right there. So I'd always sit there and look. I wait for my mom to come home from work. I'm like, when is she come home from work? And I'd always run. I remember, and look out the windows, because I know always a little after 9, we'd always see if we could see our car driving up. So anyway, I'd always go look out that window or go look out her bedroom windows. Well, one night, I think it was only the one time, I saw a white car parked right there.
Okay.
And I didn't think much of it, but because you're a little kid and you're like, but when I think back now, I remember seeing a car right there. And we have these big trees that they kind of overhang, and we always have walnuts like hanging down, it's kind of like a dip in the road.
Yeah.
Right there. It sits down lower.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, oh, that's weird. That's weird that there's a car right there. I didn't think much of it, but, and then she came home. So it's just weird to think of it now because, you start thinking, oh my gosh, I wonder if, you kind of go through your head like maybe that was him, Remember the whole night. I even remember what she was wearing. And it wasn't too cold either. It was like I think it was in the beginning. School just started again, I remember.
Oh, yeah.
And it was in early October, so it wasn't really that cool out. You know how Utah gets really cold usually, and it was still pretty nice out. It wasn't too bad. And she's just waiting for her boyfriend at the time. She had these tan cords, because remember those were like real popular back then, the cords and everything. She had tan cords that she just had, they weren't like, she just had like flip-flops on. I remember she always wore these flip-flops. Remember those kind of flip-flops they had that were kind of like Asian-like? They're kind of straw with the velvet.
Yeah.
I mean, she had a pair of those. She had those on because, it wasn't that cold out. Because usually October is pretty cold there.
Right.
And she had this navy blue kind of like a V-neck sweater, kind of eyelet type sweater.
Okay.
And she had that on. It had long sleeves. I remember I always liked that sweater, and I remember she had that on. And she's just waiting for him to come over. They were going to hang out or watch TV or, He was rude to my dad. And my dad has asked him before not to park his truck in the driveway, or at least park it out on the street because it drips oil.
Right.
And I think she kind of got upset about that, like, oh my gosh, just, knock it off or leave him alone or, but he hadn't come over yet, and that's all I know about that. I guess John did come over, but I never really saw him. I remember I was just in the house. And I think he took off, and I think he went to go look for her. And then I just remember my mom getting on the phone, calling all her friends, close friends, like, hey, did you guys pick her up? Did she come over? Whatever. And then, let's see, I'm trying to think. Oh, then she sent Tom, my brother. He had a motorcycle at the time. She sent him out. She'd go, just go searching, go look for her, whatever, Yeah. And he kind of knew the places she'd hang out and all that. And they couldn't find her. I mean, she just didn't ever come back home or come back in. And I remember they had John take a lie detector test, and everything was fine there. And because they started thinking, maybe she's really with him or, whatever. And that's all I remember. I just remember they were always like just looking for her and everything. So, but that's all I remember for that night.
This is Arnett Drive. We're coming around. It's about 8:15 or so in Holiday, Utah, Mill Creek area. And this is actually Nancy Wilcox's house right here. Arnett Drive. October 2nd, 1974. One of the possibilities was he intimated to an investigator that it was dark out and he picked her up on a busy street. And the nearest busy street is this one right here, 3900 South and about 2300 East in Mill Creek?
It's right by Olympus High School, and right across the street here is actually the orchard, one of the orchard entrances, where he could have come up behind her, abducted her, and taken her into this area here, which is now a condo. But this would have been the orchard.
Some sort of a townhome neighborhood now, but yeah, this would have been directly across from the high school track, which is actually directly past this house on the left. So this is actually the ground where the farm and the small orchard is, that's really close to her house, directly across the way. Just behind Olympus High, football field is directly across the fence on the other side here. It's kind of creepy too, like this hedge line. If you look at the aerial, it seems to be almost the exact length.
So this is the orchard.
And it's hard to see, but this is the... Go by a little quicker, avoiding shotguns.
Okay, so the second scenario is going to be that Nancy leaves the house and starts walking east up here. This is east of Arnett Drive. Bundy claims on all accounts it was a dark night. He saw a girl walking down the street. He pulled the Volkswagen over and he ran up to her from behind, brandished a knife, and then pulled her into an orchard. So we're going to show you another orchard entrance that's right up here.
This is interesting. There's a little back road here. I hadn't explored this. Yeah, Mill Creek is a very quiet neighborhood, but interesting. It's 3900 South. I gotta imagine back in the 70s that was a pretty busy street.
Okay, now this street's here, right here. This is Mercury, but if we come to the right here on Lexington, this is Lexington Circle. So this would have been the east side of the orchard. So this is,
okay.
This was all orchard, and it was accessible by the high school kids because they would come out here and smoke.
So this is where the kids are smoking, right behind this house.
Yep.
Basically, okay.
So this is potential abduction location number 2. She could have been going to the high school, maybe. She could have, it could have just been by random chance that he got her. It's important to note as well, there's 2 versions of Ted's confession. One version, he tells Dennis Couch that he abducted her, restrained her in an orchard, and took her back to 565 First Avenue where she was killed the next day. And he also mentions in the confession that he didn't use a weapon on her, but wouldn't go into detail.
Right. And that's the one where he's talking about driving her and depositing her possibly in the Capitol Reef area.
Yep.
Down south, which is odd because it would seem very out of his way if he were maybe taking one of his Colorado trips. So that's one version. And the other version, he was speaking of himself in the third person to
Stephen Michaud.
Yeah. And he was describing taking her to the orchard. They were on the backside of Olympus again here. Strangling her and killing her there. Leaving her body there and then going all the way back to 565, only to return later in a fit of paranoia and gathering up her clothes. And there was something to the effect, in the third person, he kept saying, well, I didn't see any police, I didn't see anybody around, so I decided to walk in, drive in there a little ways, and I found her just as I had left her.
Yep.
And then he took her, put her in his car, and that was that. And you got to remember, for 15 years, the family didn't know what. They didn't know what was going on. They had no idea.
They suspected it was Bundy, but he didn't say anything until January 22nd of '89 to Dennis Couch when he started confessing.
Yeah.
Do you remember approximately where you encountered Nancy Wilcox? Do you remember what she was wearing, what she looked like?
I don't remember exactly what she was wearing. She was wearing like casual clothes. Wasn't wearing dress. Wasn't dressed up in slacks or a dress or jeans. Walking along the side of a road, poorly lit area. Suburban. Years ago, I think I probably knew the street, but if I had a street map, I had an outside chance I could show you. You don't have to have a street map. So.
No. Do you recall where it would have been from the university? So?
No, it would have been south. Considerably south.
East or west? East or west?
Oh, excuse me, south. I get my directions all screwed up with that place.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of salt-like map here?
Well, of course, when you're going south, the mountains, the Wasatch Mountains are to the east. And there's homes built up alongside of the valley and then out west.
Well, it would have been, it would have been south of the university. Some distance south.
And you remember State Street, the main drag that goes all the way to, was it east or west of that?
Oh, it was east. South and east.
Considerably east?
Well, considerably east is up in the mountains.
Yeah.
Up in the benches. This wasn't up in the benches. This is south and east by how much? It was just by suburban, I don't mean new suburban. I mean it looked like older suburban. You know, the houses had been around for a while. It was under development. There were no sidewalks per se. I think it was just sort of a side area. There were no like storm sewers, curbs, things like this.
Were you able to have any conversation with her?
Not really. Not much. I mean, nothing noteworthy.
Was she carrying a purse, do you recall? Or?
Don't recall. Well, let me think.
So she was walking on the side of the road and you approached her and took her against her will?
Yeah, that's a good description. Yeah, basically. It was a fairly dark, particularly dark stretch of... it was a main roadway, but I mean, how do you describe it? But without any... But with a street light, an old style single bulb street light every 3 or 4 poles. So it was dark, and there was what looked like to be a small orchard. I say very small residential orchard between these 2 houses, and she was ushered into there and restrained and then placed in the car and taken to the apartment.
The park?
The apartment.
Oh, apartment. Now, at what point would she have been killed? In the orchard or at your apartment?
The next the next day.
Now we talking about the same apartment, though?
Yes.
Do you recall anything unusual about her, anything that sticks out in your mind as far as her, any scars, marks, or obviously, did you know her name at that time?
No, I didn't.
Was she able to talk about anything prior to the assault? You say you didn't have much of a conversation with her before.
No.
Where was she taken after the apartment?
That's what I'm trying to remember. That's what I'm looking. I need to look over the map. It's unclear to me right now. My state of mind was not good then.